Hey everybody! Sorry it's been so long. Work has been crazy. I'm actually just getting off not too long ago, but I've been dying to continue reading, and I didn't want to, just keep reading and then have to reread stuff. But came up with a couple ideas, for those of you that are watching. You can, as you watch, you can comment, like whatever you want to say or whatnot. And then on the next video, since we're not able to do like the live streaming right now, on the next video, I'll actually, take a moment before we start the reading again to go ahead and, I guess like respond to those comments or whatnot. And so once we get our followers up, y'all, then we can possibly stream live videos to where everybody can come in at the same time. And as I read, you can put your comments and we'll kind of really be like like a real book club, to where we can have interjections and people will say, like your, what you feel or, whatever. But yeah, so for right now though, we just have to make do. So, you can comment whatever you like to say. And like I said at the beginning of the next video, I'll go ahead and just respond to those and, we can kind of do it like that. But so in our first video, we read only probably about chapter one. I kind of want to try to do maybe like one book a month, and that gives everybody time to, read and actually like try to take in what it is we're reading exactly. So the book once again is Karma is Negotiable, and you can purchase this book on GnosticTeachings.org. They have you can purchase the book singly, or they have little packet, or I'm sorry, not packets, but like a couple books that you can buy all together, bundles and stuff like that. And so that's actually how I got this book. And so yeah. So in about chapter one, these are the key points for those of y'all who want to just join in. We talk about working with the fundamental forces of nature. One of being what's commonly known as karma, but technical or the real definition of it is cause and effect. Karma is taken from the word karman, which we read in the first chapter, and karman means to act, and so karma is like act and consequence. So we also talked about like putting into action, putting everything that we're learning into action with continual effort. I'm sorry. I gotta excuse me a little tired, but I'm kind of excited. I like reading, and so. But yeah, so and we also learned or read that the law of cause and effect, karma, is actually what balances the whole universe. From the birth and death of like certain planets or universes, stuff like that. It just actually balances out everything. We also learned that karma, can't be erased, but you can, in my words, bounce back from it, um, when the conditions are right. So you just have to make sure that the conditions are right before you do your act, so that way, things can take off. Because like it stated, in the first chapter, that a word spoken in silence has basically, not as much effect as a word, spoken at the right time in front of the right people. So you can get a lot further when you do things and say things at the right time. And then where we left off was the four fundamental laws. Oh, no, not the four fundamental laws. I'm tripping. And I actually wrote that. Yes, the four fundamentals of cause and effect. And so the first one was the certainty of cause and effect, which is basically saying that just because we, might believe that it's not real or, whatever it is, that does not stop it from working. The law of cause and effect is continuously in effect, whether you believe it to be or not. So just be mindful of that. The number two was effects are greater than the cause, meaning that, every act, every thought, that we do or have, say, It sends out, you know, it sends out waves of impact that flow outward and inward. Meaning that, if you speak a positive word, like that impact goes out and it goes in. But if you speak, the negative, that goes out and goes in as well. And what I mean by goes in is that, like that stuff weighs on your heart. Number 3 was cannot. You cannot receive consequence without committing its corresponding act. And what that basically means is that, a lot of people, like stated in the book, want something for nothing. And so that's basically like you reap what you sow. If you sow, good deeds and kind actions and kind words, you will reap those. But if you're, a person who constantly, like nagging and you just always see the negative and you just always putting out negative, that's what you're going to continuously get back. So don't expect to see anything different from your actual effort. And that's why it's not good for a lot of people to compare, journeys, because you never know the amount of work that that person put in to receive the blessings that they have. Just like, they never know the type of work that you put in to receive the blessings that you have. So you just got to be mindful of that. So if you want to reap good benefits, you have to sow good seeds, and sometimes like just like fruit, vegetables, trees, it doesn't happen right away. It could, but 9 times out of 10, a lot of times it doesn't, so you just have to be patient and just make sure that you're sowing good seeds. And the 4th one was superior laws always overcome an inferior one. Okay? It means that, like I said, karma cannot be erased, but once the effect is there from the cause, then you can still change that situation around by acting on laws that are greater than cause and effect. Okay? And so that was just a brief wrap up of where we left off. And so we are about to get started on the reading. I know I can sing, y'all. Don't speak at once. Okay, so the origin affects the outcome. Okay? The origin affects the outcome. Some traditions understand that the physical world is side by side with many other dimensions or levels of reality. Even modern science realizes the certainty of levels of existence that we cannot perceive directly. Thus, to see one of them, we need special tools like microscopes, telescopes, X-ray devices, and many other extensions of our physical senses. Even merely at the physical level, light has many degrees of vibration. With our physical senses, we only perceive an extremely... Should I put the book down? Go put it up. Even merely at the physical level, light has many degrees of vibration. With our physical senses, we only perceive an extremely narrow band of that vibration and cannot directly perceive the vast majority of the light that is radiating around us now. And that is true. Like on our color scale that we have, there are so many more colors that the eye cannot physically perceive. To some degree, we can perceive the results of action in the narrow band of physical action. However, we do not perceive the results of action in the expanse of the ultraviolet and infrared regions. All the vibrations of light interpenetrate without confusion. Okay. So, meaning that sometimes we only see, the physical of it, but we never see, everything else that's going on in the backgrounds. At this moment, you are surrounded by light corresponding to every range of vibration. When you move your hands, you see the physical action and its results, but you do not see your hand moving in the ultraviolet, and you do not see your hand moving in the infrared. Yet, beyond the physical level of matter and energy, there are huge expanses of reality that we cannot perceive with physical tools. To see them, we need special tools. Here, we do not refer to physical technologies, which are merely an extension of the physical senses, meaning that, they're still physical, but they're, you need something more to see them, We refer to psychological technologies, which traditionally are called meditation, clairvoyance, and dream yoga or astral projection. Few are they that learn the proper use of these techniques, and indeed, you know you have been properly trained when you have the ability to retrieve information from non physical levels of life. And clairvoyance, if any of you don't know, which I'm sure you probably do, is the ability to see things that are not, physically perceivable by any, like they say, extension of our physical senses. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what meditation is. It's, the learning to quiet of the mind. Um, well, actually, not quiet the mind because the mind, doesn't quiet, but it's just learning to see past, all of the chaos that we have up there to come to terms with it. Um, and dream yoga, astral projection, that's like a whole nother level. I have not reached that level, so I don't know. I mean, I know, but I'm pretty sure y'all know too. And if you don't, you can go ahead and look it up because I don't want to confuse you. Okay? This is important because our actions have results throughout the range of the world. The movement of your hand produces results that you cannot perceive with any physical senses. Your words and thoughts produce movements of energy that are not physical. There are other, much greater consequences that are unseen by our physical senses. Cause and effect is at work in the physical world according to the laws of matter, of physical matter. It is different in the internal worlds. What happens internally, psychologically, spiritually, is more powerful. Okay, so that lets you know that a lot of things that goes on in the physical compared to the spiritual, psychological, is basically nothing. Like those are more important. So when you do the change internally, you start to see it externally. Okay? The internal worlds are those aspects of nature that we cannot perceive with our physical senses. In other words, we are multidimensional, not just physical. We have multiple bodies. The physical body is not the only thing to us, okay? The Tibetan Buddhist Master Tsongkhapa wrote, "An effect of immense happiness may arise from even a small virtuous karma act. An effect of immense suffering may arise from even a tiny non-virtuous karma act. Hence, internal causation seems to involve a magnification that is not found in external causation." Okay? Read that one more time. Hence, internal causation seems to involve a magnification that is not found in external causation. Okay? And that was from Song Kappa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but it's Tsong. And I know I'm saying the Kappa right. Khapa. Lamrim Chenmo. Okay? In other words, a deed may be small, but its effects can be great, and this is especially true of those actions produced internally, that is psychologically and consciously. So that's basically like what I just said. When you make the changes on the inside, you start to see them on the outside. And if the change is little, then you see little change, but if you are actually, doing a radical change, then you see radical results. In modern physics, it is now known that two objects at remote physical distance from one another can have a profound and intimate energetic reaction. This is due to multidimensionality. Of course, spiritual and mystical traditions have always known this, even though the majority of humanity ignores it. Okay? We are ignorant. We can't be ignorant. We're getting out of it. We are not merely physical, we are multidimensional. Okay? And this is a picture that is on the page. I'm not sure if you can quite see the words, but this just shows, like a map of everything starting from the physical and it works up into the ensavoir. Okay? Which is the So it's dimensions, bodies, and the tree of life. Kabbalah. Okay? And so our physical body corresponds to the third dimension. And this includes everything we can perceive with the senses of our physical body. Yet, our physical body can only exist and perceive because of the energy that empowers it. That energy belongs to the fourth dimension. Some people can sense this energy, but not with physical senses. Some people call this energy chi or prana. It is vital energy, the basis of physical life. Further, our body is animated by more than mere vital energy. We have psychic, mental, and emotional energy, which are related to the fifth dimension. This is what we commonly experience as the world of dreams. While we can sense our thoughts and feelings from the physical world, they actually exist in another level of nature. Okay? So every thought that you have, every feeling is actually stemming from another dimension of ourselves. Okay? Another level of nature. All of that experience, physical, vital, emotional, mental, is made possible because of our consciousness, soul, and spirit, which vibrate in the sixth dimension. All of these levels emerge from and return to the seventh or zero dimension, what the Buddhists call emptiness, and the Kabbalists call ayin, which means nothingness. In simple terms, even though we are here physically, the third dimension, we experience the effects of having vital energy, the fourth dimension. Our physical senses may not be able to see it, but when our vital energy is low, we feel tired or depleted. We also experience the effects of psychic energy, our thoughts and feelings, fifth dimension. Though we cannot physically see it, these thoughts and feelings, we can perceive them, just not with our physical senses. In every moment, we are utilizing all of these forms of energy, and all of them are producing consequences. Right now, your actions are creating multidimensional effects. So the fact that you're even here, listening or reading along to this book is creating so many, effects. But you cannot see them because your consciousness is asleep. If you awaken your consciousness, you then can see other dimensions. As Som Kappa pointed out, actions produced psychologically, internally, have much greater effects than those produced physically or externally. This is partly because the physical realm is quite low on a scale of matter and energy. Moving up the scale, actions have greater consequences because they trickle down to the lower levels. For example, if we mouth a word simulating the saying of the word but not actually speaking it, this will have only a negligible effect. Yet if we say it, pronouncing the word aloud, this means we used vital energy to propel the body and the breath. The result then is that a word makes a sound, and the effect is thereby greater. But if we say the word with emotion and directed by thoughts, and especially directed by conscious will, the effect of that word can be devastating or life-changing. The higher the type of energy invested, the greater the effect. So I just feel like saying that, those of y'all who just, you say something, but you don't really mean it, that has an effect. But when you say something, and like it says or you might think it, but you don't say it, so it can have a little bit of effect. But when you actually say it, it has a greater effect. But then when you, say something and you actually feel it, and you actually have that thought that, kind of vibrates on the same level as it, then you can either make something positive happen or you're creating something devastating. Okay? The higher the type of energy invested, the greater the effect. When we say something that we really mean, it is because all of these energies are empowering that word. That is why such words are so powerful. The same is true of all forms of actions. The more we want it, the more powerful the action becomes. And I just want to say that, like, I don't want that to get y'all, like, oh, well, I really want something that has never happened. Like I said before, you have to have favorable circumstances, okay? Which means just because you want it, you still have to actively work for it. And sometimes the way we feel about it, or, our fears and what we think about it, is hindering it from actually coming to us. So, yes, you want it, but you still have to align on the other levels of being, okay? Additionally, we have stated each action creates an effect that is greater than the original action. Even though Newton explained that cause and effect are equal, for every action there is an opposite and equal reaction. There is an equal and opposite reaction. This only applies to isolated systems in the third dimension. Okay, so that famous quote that he discovered is very minute. Okay, because it only has effect in this dimension, which is minute. This only applies to isolated systems in a third dimension, physical matter and energy. The reality is that nothing is merely physical. Nothing. Not even you. Okay? Modern physics have already realized this, but most people have not. Every physical action has ripple effects, not only physical, but in other dimensions. Thus, the results are far greater than the action. Dimensions are not somewhere else far away from us. Other dimensions are right here, right now. Although we possess senses that can perceive those dimensions in us, those senses are atrophied. That is, we are asleep. Okay? So we have in us everything that we need, but it's just asleep. It's dormant. It's atrophied. Okay? So we need to wake up, people. So that's why when people be like, I'm woke, it's just like, you're not woke. You're on the journey to being woke, but you're not woke just because you come across a little bit of information that's done further you down your journey. You're still pretty asleep. Okay? I'm still pretty asleep. Okay? But anyways. We need to awaken. When we awaken, we can experience those dimensions as easily as we experience the physical one. Through such experience, we can directly observe for ourselves that a thought has a powerful ripple effect that flows into other dimensions and levels of energy and matter. And this just came to my mind with that, is that when Jesus, like would be out preaching and he would say what he would say in front of the Pharisees and the Sadducees or whatever, and they would have those thoughts that they had and how he responded to them without actually hearing what they said. That's because of this. He was an awakened man, so he's seeing the, what does it say, he's seeing the powerful ripple effects that flowed from them, and like he's seen it, so he could already tell what they were thinking without them having to say anything. I don't know why. I just thought to say that. But yeah, thoughts are not isolated in our brains. They are not isolated in our brains. Thoughts are a form of matter and energy that are not physical. Very sensitive people and children and animals can perceive the thoughts of others. It's kind of like probably being an empath, where you can just feel how somebody else is feeling. You could kind of feel like, like, oh, they must be thinking this, and then you end up being right. But anyways, most people can sense when someone is looking at them, even without physical clues. Have you ever felt the gaze of someone fall upon you and you instinctively turned to see who is looking at you? In that moment, you sense something by means of non-physical energy. You sense the other person's attention, which is not physical. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have experienced that. You're just doing whatever you're doing and something's just like, you just look up and there's somebody looking at you. And the thought is not like, oh, I feel like somebody looking at me, check around and see. The thought is just really just like, you just look up and they're looking at you. That's because you're internally, like, you can feel that. Similarly, we can sense how others feel. A person may be smiling, but we can sense their anger or sadness. This is derived from non-physical energies and non-physical senses. In spite of this, we foolishly believe that no one else can sense what we are feeling or thinking. How naive. Okay. Recognizing this is imperative that we realize something. What we think and feel have effects that extend far beyond the thought or feeling. What we will has far reaching consequences. Everything inside of us produces consequences, both internally and externally. This is why the Buddhist scripture, the Dhammapada, begins with the mind creates our life. As we think, so do we become. Our life is but the result of energy that has moved through our psyche. Thus, if what we want is a better life, we have to develop the capacity to change how we manage our energy. Okay, so a lot of times it's just like a misplace of energy, the reason like why we're feeling or living how we're living. Okay. So, to do that, we need to become aware of ourselves here and now, which means staying in the moment. If you're eating, eat. And my dad, he's Muslim, and he always say that if you're walking, you need to walk. If you're doing this, you need to do that and not do that. Blah, blah, blah. But anyways, he got a little point, just a little bit, But it's to stay here and now. The key to conquering suffering and establishing happiness is in this: being conscious of what we do both physically and externally. Physically and internally, from moment to moment. Through conscious, superior actions, we overcome unconscious, inferior actions and their consequences. Okay? So, just be in the moment. Center your breathing, focus on your breathing, and just work on a task that's ahead of you. If something happened, and you're going through the consequences, you can't change what happened. What can you do right now to make the situation better? And if something that hasn't happened and you're just worried about it happening, or you just, something, you can't change whatever's going to happen. And by you worrying, it's not making the situation any better. So it's best to just, although you might not want a situation to happen a certain type of way, come back to here and now. What can you do to try to guarantee that that situation won't turn out like that? Some things are out of our control, but like it says, through conscious, superior actions, we overcome unconscious, inferior actions and their consequences. Okay? So a lot of times being aware and just being in the moment can just save you from the consequences of whatever, just happened. Okay, so page 31. Everything is karmic, okay? Karma, cause and effect, is universal and all-penetrating. Like contemplating infinity, the true meaning of the law of karma is elusive to the mind. The true activity of this law, the reality of this law, is something that our tiny mind cannot comprehend. Yet, even though the mind cannot comprehend this, our consciousness can understand it intuitively. Okay, so that's basically just like, just because you don't believe in karma and you don't see, the effects that it, like the correlation between them doesn't mean that it's not happening. Okay? Because your subconscious, it understands it intuitively. The law of karma is real. It is the very fabric of the entire existence around you and within you. You yourself are a result of karma, and everything you think, feel, and do creates a result, which, as we know, is the very definition of karma. Act en consequence. Okay? You may think you can understand this. You may think, yes, I understand that karma is the law of cause and effect, and that if I do something bad, then something bad will happen to me. Yes, that is true. If you hurt someone, then you will hurt. It is the function of the law to balance all action. The law of karma is the law of the scale, like a Libra. This law is present in everything. For everything we do, for everything we do, there is a reaction and response. Indeed, perhaps some of us do get this, and we try to behave well. But the true depth of this law, the profound reach of this law, is something that none of us truly understand. But, I'm sorry, because if we did, we would not live the way we do. Okay? How different would our lives be if we really understood that everything we think creates karma? Do you know? Like, if we knew that, just the thought of something negative coming into our mind, we would just be like, hell nah. Mm-mm. And you wouldn't even think it. Like, it just would be like just off top to just not think anything negative because you would understand the effects that it has. Okay? Every single thought that enters into our mind, the processes in our mind, has a profound effect. So do our feelings, intentions, fantasies. I'm sorry, y'all. Fantasies as well as our physical actions. If we truly understood that our thoughts and feelings affect others and ourselves, usually with harm, we will make the sincere effort to instead generate beneficial thoughts and feelings. That's why, mantras are good, and affirmations can be positive. If you do the positive affirmations, you're just creating ripples that are yet to be reaped. Okay? You are creating positive consequences. Okay? Each and every thought we have engenders a consequence. Our thinking is creating something. Our out of control mind that runs and thinks and considers and imagines without control and without awareness is generating a constant stream of energy that will inevitably, I can't never say that word right, inevitably have some effect. Moreover, according to the laws of nature, that effect will be greater than the cause. Okay, so a small negative will be a big negative. A small positive will be a big positive. That's why it's so important to do the random acts of kindness and those small acts of kindness. Flash a smile at somebody. Offer to pay for somebody some lunch. Don't have to be a millionaire that you try to pay for, of course. But if you see somebody needs something, like if it's not gonna hurt you to go out your way and it's not gonna kill you, then do it. But if you one of those people who, might got $5 to your name and you gotta eat for the rest of the week and need some gas, don't go, like, oh, he needs something, go get your last five. If the spirit placed it on you to do that, then do it. I'm not telling you not to do it. But I'm just saying, like, you're never supposed to put yourself in a bind to do good for others because that's really, not doing anything, Your heart was in the right place, but, you can't pour from an empty glass. Okay? So, moreover, according to the laws of nature, that effect will be greater than the cause. Our every use of energy on every level of our psyche has an effect much greater than the action that produced it. However, at the moment, we do not see the effect. We are in a state of ignorance. That is, we are asleep. Whew. Almost fell asleep. Awake, thou that sleepest, and arise from spiritually dead. And Christ shall give thee light in your consciousness. That is Ephesians 5 and 14. And of course, Ephesians 5 and 14 does not say, the word spiritually or the words in your consciousness. But that just goes to show you that, the Bible, although things were taken out, the things that were taken out were very important for you to be able to piece things together. But the underlying, what do I always say? The underlying purpose of the Bible, the teachings and everything is still there. They just took certain things out so it would be hard for you to piece it together, but it's still there. So when it says, awake thou that sleepest and arise from the dead, it's basically saying, you need to awake consciously, spiritually. Arise from the dead and Christ, not Jesus, but Christ, which is some energy that we all have in us that is asleep. And Christ shall give thee light, knowledge, wisdom in your consciousness. Okay? So that is Ephesians 5:14. And for those of y'all who do like theology, theology kind of teaches the esoteric teachings in the Bible. So you pretty much already know that. But it's a thing that theology is missing which is that, like, nobody's going to come and save us. So theology teaches you the esoteric teachings of the Bible, but it doesn't teach you that you have to spiritually do the work for yourself, that you have to pick up your own cross, to reach your own resurrection. Jesus did his work, and he did it damn good, but, it's we have to do ours as well, okay? And so, let me see how long this next chapter is, because, yeah, I think we can get through it in 10 minutes. It's a couple pages, and I know I'm keep yarning, but I'm just so excited. I want to read and read and read, and I know once I stop reading and get ready to go to sleep, I'm going to have all the energy in the world, all the energy. So, the next chapter is how we know karma is real. If we only think of karma as a theory, this type of teaching can never benefit us. If we only think of karma if we only think of karma on a cosmic scale, such as debating the creation of debating the creation of worlds or worrying over the role of God, etc., then we will waste a lot of time on questions that are beyond our ability to answer with certainty. Okay? Some people like to debate. I used to be one of those people that had to just prove a point by the facts that I knew. But I've come to the realization that, like, I'm not about to debate with you, because my reality is not your reality. The things that you think are just a theory that you just, some, I've tested them out, and I'm not saying I've tested them out, but, when I test out things and it becomes my truth versus what somebody just like, oh, that's just a belief, like, no, I've experienced it, okay, and it's real. And if you don't think it's real, then that's because it's not your truth yet, and you haven't, tried to test it out. Y'all, my cat be tripping. But anyways, how we know karma is real. If we only think of karma as theory, this type of teaching can never benefit us. If we only think of karma as on a cosmic scale, such as debating the creation of God, the creation of worlds, or worrying over the role of God, etc., then we will waste a lot of time on questions that are beyond our ability to answer with certainty. Remember, we need cognizant knowledge, not theories. Without real experience of how karma works, the subsequent wisdom that emerges from that knowledge, our life will continue as it has. Without real experience of how karma works and the subsequent wisdom that emerges from that knowledge, our life will continue as it has, marching with uncertainty and anxiety towards death. Okay? You marching towards death. Okay? It is easy to experience the reality of karma. You can test it every day. All you have to do is pay attention to the effects of your actions. When you slap somebody and they slap you back, cause and effect. When you help somebody, do something nice for somebody, and then, later on that day, they might do a little something for you, that's cause and effect. And if you go about your day just not doing nothing and you don't get nothing, hey, that's cause and effect. Okay? If we do something to benefit someone else, we also benefit. For example, in the short term, we benefit from the emotions we feel, from the gratitude or reward we receive from others. In the long term, we may gain more. Okay, so a lot of times it's not just physical what you reap, like they say, it can be the emotions. By you helping somebody, that can actually literally make you feel better. And I know, because I'm one of those people that when I help somebody, I really feel like, oh my God, I'm so happy I was able to help you. I'll get all teary-eyed for you. You're like, oh my God, girl, that happened to you? Oh my God. But anyways, yet, if we do something harmful, we are also harmed. In the short term, by regret, anxiety, the fear of retribution or punishment, etc. In the long term, we may receive more negative consequences. So, when you do something bad and you have that oh damn, I shouldn't have did that. Oh, I wish I never did that. That's the kind of short term things. But then the long term things is oh, you shouldn't have did that. That's a short term. But then the long term is what actually happens by you doing what you did. the thing that can't take back. You can always correct your feelings by just accepting your flaws and your mistakes as they are without judgment, but observing them to make sure that they don't happen again. But you can't, anyways. Thus, through the analysis of what both we are doing and the results of those actions, we begin to realize how karma works. This requires sincere self analysis from moment to moment and from day to day, which is basically what I just said. Like without casting judgment on your thoughts, just analyze them and try to figure out what it was that caused you to want to do that, and why did that cause you to want to do that. And the more you do that and the more you, consciously and actively try to monitor your thoughts, the more that when those little things, come up, you'll be like, okay, like I did this last time. Let me just try this. And then the more you do that, the more it just come like second nature. Like when something comes, you just ignore it. It'll shoot right past you. But this requires sincere self-analysis from moment to moment and from day to day. Something you have to practice every day, every moment. Okay? To succeed in this analysis, it is necessary that we are truly objective in our observations. That is, impartial. We have to see the facts and stop justifying the actions of ourselves. And what that means is that you cannot, try to consciously analyze yourself and still justify why you did it. Like you slapped somebody because she called you a bitch. Like, okay, yeah, I slapped her because she called me a bitch, da da da. Like, no. You have to figure out why her calling you a bitch irritated you. Like, why did it make you feel like you had to react like that? And you just have to look at it like you're from the outside looking in sometimes. So sometimes you might think that you're right, but sometimes you have to place yourself outside of the situation and be like, okay, if I'm looking at two people doing this, because sometimes we be doing some fucked up stuff, and you looking at two people doing this and this person say that, and that person say that, and then that person say that, but you that person, it's like, damn, okay, so I really did start that. Even though you felt like you was justified by saying that, no. Kind of ramble a little bit when I'm sleepy, but I feel like I'll be making some points, But yeah, so you just have to stop justifying your actions when you know that you're wrong, or, when your actions have a negative consequence. So for a negative consequence to come about, that means that the cause was negative, right? Right. Going deeper, by analyzing our current situation, we can determine the previous actions that it created. I just said that. Success in this effort requires special skills that we will discuss later. Okay? Begin by observing yourself constantly, from moment to moment. Be aware of the thoughts, feelings, and impulses that emerge within you. This is not easy to do because it's so easy to get caught up, in just our feelings and our thoughts, and how people make us feel or how we think people make us feel. This is not easy to do nor to sustain because our consciousness is weak and untrained. But just like a dog or, any animal that you have to train, the more you stay on it, the more that animal gets it. So the more you stay on your mind and, when you catch yourself, not doing what you're supposed to be doing, like not, focusing on your breathing or not being in the moment, bring your attention back to what it is that you are supposed to be doing. And the more you do that, the more it becomes second nature, like I just said, to, just do that, Yet, by learning how to energize the consciousness through special teachings hidden in every religion and taught publicly by teachers like Samael Anvayo, okay, so that means that every religion has teachings that you can use. Okay, let's stop being ignorant, people. No religion is greater than the others. There's billions, maybe not billions, but there's a lot of religions out there. And who are you to say that your religion is hardcore right? When just who are you to say that? Nobody. So sometimes we just gotta look at things from an unbiased perspective. Have an open mind and just look into stuff, and you will see that the underlying, like the basis of every religion is pretty much the same. Like I say, they have these posts and stuff floating around like Hinduism, Judaism, Christian, the Muslims, or, Islam, I'm sorry. and all the other stuff, and it's just like certain quotes that's in those Bibles, Qurans, or whatever. They're basically saying the same thing, just different words. So that just lets you know, like, everything, like, you can use it. It's just that we're blocking ourselves, we're hindering ourselves. Yet by learning how to energize the consciousness through special teachings hidden in every religion and taught publicly by teachers like Samael Anvayo and directed from moment to moment, we can start to consciously experience the deep relationship between our inner state and the external events around us. Success in gathering conscious self knowledge depends on three irreplaceable factors. Success in gathering conscious self knowledge depends upon three irreplaceable factors. 1. Accurate training in the technique and supporting tools. 2. The willpower to put it into activity from moment to moment. And 3. The patience to overcome obstacles and see results. 1. Accurate training in the technique and supporting tools. Do your studying. Okay, do your research. Like, find different things. Look at meditation videos. Look at yoga videos. Look at this. Look at that. Number 2, the willpower to put it into activity from moment to moment. Everything that you research, everything that you study, and you're absorbing mentally, absorb it spiritually through your heart. Like, try to actually implement that into your day-to-day activities. And number 3, the patience to overcome obstacles and see results. And the more that you research and you try to implement those things in your day-to-day activities, there are going to be some people, that's part of tests, that come to test you to see if you're actually, like, getting and learning and just holding on to the things that you're studying and researching. So when you have those people that come across that want to upset you, or, that you feel like you become upset, if you then see it as a test instead of, like, just somebody trying to make you mad, you'll, like, learn to hold your temper. Because, like I said, it's all, like it says, it's all obstacles. And it's tests, and it's tests for a reason. Because you're learning. Life is a bunch of lessons. And every time you learn something, you get a lesson on it. So there's this quote that say, like, anybody who left you is teaching you, how to be on your own. Anyone who hurt you is teaching you how to love. And, you just have to see, like, the weakness that's coming, the strength that it is giving you the power to achieve. Okay? We define training as being accurate when the student is capable of acquiring information through their own personal implementation of that training. If the student is not acquiring information, then either they have not been trained well, they are not bothering to make the effort, or there is a karmic debt that is preventing the student from succeeding. If the student is not acquiring information, if you're not taking in the information, then either they have not been trained well, which means nobody taught you how to take in the information. They are not bothering to make the effort, which means you're not trying to take in the information. Or there's a karmic debt that is preventing the student from succeeding. Okay, a low law that you can overpower with a more superior law. Some traditions call this technique self-observation and self-remembering. Others call it watchfulness, mindfulness, or awareness. Okay? Quite simply, it is to be here and now, observant of oneself. This is a state of consciousness marked by simple presence, aware, bright and clear, perceptive, receptive, and insightful. It is not a state of daydreaming, fantasizing, remembering, avoiding, desiring, craving, or ignoring. Okay, so anytime you catch yourself fantasizing or daydreaming, thinking about the future, like, all that stuff is, I was going to say beneficial. I love making up words. But all that stuff is not beneficial. What's beneficial is being here and now. Okay? By application of conscious attention, we can start to see how what we experience is related to what we have done. When we become deeply aware of how painful anger is, we will not want to be angry anymore. Indeed, we will seek a different way to deal with our frustrations. Similarly, Each phenomena in our inner and outer life can reveal a way out of the cage we have built. Each phenomena in our inner and outer life can reveal a way out of the cage we have built around ourselves. It didn't say out of the cage others built, out of the cage we have built around ourselves. But to see the way out, we have to learn to look. Okay? Not with these eyes, though. With that one. We have to be willing to see the truth. Okay? So, today is actually Saturday. And so I'm off of work tomorrow, which is Sunday and Monday. So I plan to do a video for Sunday and a video for Monday as well. Like I said, I want to try to get through this book in less than a month or whatnot. I really wish that we could do like the live streaming so that way we can have interactions. But I'm just starting this, and you know, we got to get our followers up so that way YouTube can allow us to do the live. But yeah, like I say, if you're watching this video, you enjoyed it, you know, go ahead and comment, you know, whatever you would like to say. You know, like as the video plays, go ahead and comment, you know, in response to whatever is being played. And on the next video, we'll take a little second in the beginning to go ahead and kind of have a discussion about the comments. Okay? And so, like I said, that's just how we have to do things now, because if we were live, we would actually be able to, you know, do it live, of course. But, yes, may all beings be happy. May all beings be joyful. May all beings be in peace. And may the cause of our sufferings be erased. Okay? So I hope y'all have a good night. I'm about to get ready for bed. Yeah, I hope y'all are enjoying the video because I'm actually having fun reading out loud. I haven't done that since in school. And I don't know about y'all, but being an adult, I love every second that I'm able to feel like a child again. Okay? And that could be all day, every day. But, you know, we got ego, we got standards, society to, you know, live up to and stuff like that. So we gotta be adults sometime, you know? But yes. Y'all have a good night, okay? Read to y'all later.